With a career spanning back over 20 years, Eli Roth has worn quite a few different hats over that time, having operated on multiple movie sets as a writer, producer, and even as an actor. Eli is a multifaceted creator. The title he's most known for is the director, and that's what we will be looking at today as we count down the top 5 Eli Roth movies of all time. Number 5. Hostel.
Don't speak.
What the fuck do you want me to say?
Before 2005, Eli Roth was mainly known to hardcore fans of the horror genre due to some of his early work, something that we'll cover in another entry. After the release of Hostel, which received a little help from Quentin Tarantino, Eli's name is one that you started to hear mentioned outside of horror circles. Although not the first movie in the subgenre torture porn, Hostel was the first movie to be given the moniker. All others were classified retroactively. If you're unfamiliar with the plot, this first entry into the Hostel franchise depicts two backpackers, played by Jay Hernandez and Derek Richardson, as their trip takes a detour to a questionable area of Eastern Europe. With a new friend in tow, the two end up in Slovakia and fall victim to a network of rich businessmen who pay good money to torture and kill unexpected tourists. As it is with most movies in the horror genre, critic reviews were mixed. If there's one set of people that horror fans tend to ignore, though, it's the critics, as they showed that the fans absolutely loved Hostel. Working with a budget of $4.8 million, the movie went on to rake in $82 million at the global box office. Hostel did not go without controversy. The local governments in Slovakia and the Czech Republic took issue with how their region was depicted, worrying about damage to their reputations and the movie causing hindrances to their tourism efforts. Number 4. The Green Inferno. A big theme that seems to play out in a lot of Eli Roth's movies is the idea of American youths traveling to different countries only to meet a brutal and bloody end. The Green Inferno is one such movie, and it is definitely not for the faint of heart or stomach. Serving as homage to the cannibal movie boom of the 1970s and 80s, this flick follows a group of young activists as they embark on a trip through the Amazon rainforest to protest deforestation in the region. After fighting with local militias and enduring a plane crash, the tree huggers find themselves abducted by a local tribe. We will spare you the details from here since they can get pretty horrific. Unsurprisingly, The Green Inferno had mixed reviews at release, with most critics hating it, but die-hard fans of gory movies loving it. Eli Roth is no stranger to controversies, and his movies seem to be a lightning rod for them. The movie received quite a lot of criticism for how it portrayed isolated indigenous peoples in general, and was viewed as reinforcing the idea of neocolonialism. A sequel, titled Beyond the Green Inferno, was announced not long after the first movie was released, but as of the time of this list, no release date is available. Number 3. The House with a Clock in Its Walls. Spreading his wings beyond the realm of horror and gore, Eli Roth directed The House with a Clock in Its Walls, giving him his only film not to receive an R rating.
You'll see, it's quite different here.
Based on a 1973 novel with the same name, The House with a Clock in Its Walls follows the story of a young boy who loses his family in a car accident and is sent to live with his warlock uncle, played by Jack Black. With a stellar cast that also included Cate Blanchett and Kyle MacLachlan, this movie went on to be a financial success, gaining a worldwide gross of $131.5 million against a $42 million budget.
Have a look around.
You're perfectly safe.
That's safe?
Although the film only holds a 66% on Rotten Tomatoes due to mixed reviews, Eli Roth did receive much kudos for showing off his ability to successfully make a larger variety of movies rather than his standard blood-soaked torture porn fare. Hopefully, we will get to see more of Eli's family-friendly side in the future. Number 2. Hostel Part 2. It's rare in the horror genre for a sequel to rival its predecessor, but Hostel Part 2 is one of those instances. Admittedly, you won't get much more out of the plot than you did with the first Hostel. The plot points that do stand out are the continuing story of Jay Hernandez as Paxton and the end scene, which gives the audience much more to think about after the credits roll.
When is your birthday? December 12th?
That is
Don't worry, we're not going to spoil that for you here. In between these, you get the standard story of a new crew of soon-to-be-dead tourists. While the plot of the second Hostel is not the most original in the genre, the death scenes are bigger and bloodier than the first movie. And isn't that really what we really want out of horror sequels? More blood and a bigger body count? The box office was unfortunately not bigger and better, grossing only half of what its predecessor did, something Eli Roth blamed on early printing of the movie. That being said, critics were a lot nicer to Eli Roth than they had been up to this point, some citing the step up in production value as a huge factor. It has been pointed out that while the first Hostel may have touched on the idea a little, the second installment really dug into the geopolitical themes and subversive commentary on American values. Our number 1 pick is Cabin Fever.
What to me?
I thought you were something else.
Here it is, the movie that truly started off Eli Roth's rise to fame, Cabin Fever. Starring Ryder Strong and Jordan Ladd, along with an ensemble of relative unknowns, this isolationist horror movie follows a group of friends as they come in contact with a deadly flesh-eating virus during an ill-advised camping trip. When it becomes time for critics to give their take, some found it hard to get by the random but hilarious, irreverent jokes. The homage to films that came before and heavily influenced Cabin Fever, such as The Evil Dead and The Blair Witch Project, were also a point of distraction for some reviewers. Of course, these elements were what drew horror fans in, as if defying critics directly.
Oh my God, man!
Cabin Fever went on to spawn a sequel in 2009 and a prequel in 2014 explaining the origin of the virus. There was also a remake of Cabin Fever in 2016, which surprised some fans since Eli Roth wrote the script himself. Cabin Fever was popular in its own right and was the catalyst that caused Quentin Tarantino to begin his collaboration with Eli Roth, which would extend into Tarantino's own movie, Inglourious Basterds.
Fuck off! Come on, leave us alone! Fuck off!
Do you agree with our list? Tell us your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and be the first to see new videos from Stream TV.